Hello and welcome to the first in our series of 3 payment-related 2-Minute Tuesdays. At the best of times, a small client who's not paying your bills is a problem. In the era of COVID-19, it's a real challenge. So first of all, you need to determine why they're not paying you. Is it because they don't want to, perhaps because they don't think you've delivered what you said you would? Or is it because they can't because they haven't got any cash? If they don't want to pay because they think that you've breached the contract in some way, first off, they should tell you. If Devant wrote your T's and C's for you, there will be something in there along the lines of, if you dispute an invoice for any reason, you have to tell us within X number of days of receipt of the invoice. Otherwise, it becomes due and payable. If Devant didn't write your terms, there's a possibility that the first time you'll find out that there's something wrong is when you're chasing the customer for payment. If your client does have a valid reason for non-payment, start off by seeing if you can fix the issue. If you can't, then perhaps think about whether a discount to compensate them for the difference between what you've actually delivered and what you had contracted to deliver might be appropriate. So for example, if you'd delivered a product and it had a surface scratch, and you can't get hold of a replacement for them, what would be a fair discount to compensate them for the scratch? Discuss that with them and agree it by email, and once you've come to a mutually acceptable figure, issue a credit note and they should be able to pay the difference. If they still don't pay, or if perhaps they never had any reason to dispute the invoice in the first place, then it's possible that they don't actually have the cash. Or that they do have the cash, but they're just trying to hold on to it to preserve as much within the business to help with their cash flow as they possibly can. Now, there are 2 potential solutions here, depending on what you believe to be their actual financial situation. If you think they're genuinely struggling, but could eventually be a good client for you if they make it through the current difficult times, you might want to talk to them about a payment plan. This might mean that it takes a long time to get all the money that you're owed. But if they were to go bust in the meantime, at least you would have had some of your cash, which is probably more than you would have got if you'd made them go insolvent. You would have been at the bottom of a long line of creditors and probably got very little, if anything, of the cash that they owed you. If you think they do actually have the cash, but they're just putting you at the bottom of the list for payment, you might want to consider issuing a petition for winding up. So basically, the only good reason why a company shouldn't pay you, if there's no reason for them to object to the invoice, is if they don't have the funds to do so. And if they don't have the funds to pay their creditors, then basically they're trading while insolvent. And that's against the law. And that's where the petition for winding up comes in. By issuing a petition, or even just threatening to issue a petition, they either have to pay up or wind up. So if they're sitting on the money and they have the possibility of paying you, a winding up petition or the threat of one will often persuade them to put their hand in their pocket and sort you out. So you might wonder why you'd use a winding up petition for a company that you believe to be perfectly solvent and not for one that you think is possibly insolvent. So basically, if a company really is insolvent, chances are it's not just you they owe money to. That means they'll owe HMRC, staff, landlords. By the time they've dealt with that lot, there'll be very little, if any, money left to pay you. Whereas for companies that actually have cash, using the tool of a winding up petition can make sure that they actually pay you to avoid getting wound up. So what if you're up against a big client who's not paying? Well, we'll be covering that in next week's 2-Minute Tuesday, so make sure that you subscribe and you'll get notified when it's online. See you soon.